So in this example, we are going to learn how to write an Apex trigger on the contact object. And the purpose of this trigger will be to prevent creation of more than 4 contacts under an account. Quickly talking about the business requirement, the business wants to implement an automated logic that would prevent the creation of more than 4 contacts under a single account. And this is being done to ensure data integrity and maintain a manageable contact structure. So that's what the business requirement is. So creating contacts within the limit. When a user attempts to create a contact under an account that currently has fewer than 4 contacts, which already has got less than 4 contacts, then the system should allow the creation of the new contact without any issues. So other behavior that is expected of the trigger is preventing excessive contacts. So when a user attempts to create a contact under an account that already has 4 or more contacts, so someone trying to create a contact under an account which already has got 4 contacts or more than that, then the system should block the creation of the new contact and show an error message indicating that the maximum contact limit for the account has been reached. So that's what we are basically going to write the trigger for. Before we start writing the trigger, let's have a quick look at how would the trigger behave. So we already have that trigger created here. I'm going to talk about the code, or I'm going to basically write the entire code and show it to you, but let's understand on the system how it's going to behave. So we will go to the sales application. So I'll go to accounts. Let me go to all accounts, and let me go to this particular account, Dickinson. Let's check how many contacts are there under this. Since it just has got 1 contact right now, adding 1 more to this would basically make it 2. So there should not be a problem, and it should allow creating that contact. So let's see if that happens. I'm just creating a dummy contact here. Click on save, and it saves the contact without any issue. Now let's look at another account. I'll pick this account. We go to related. Okay, so in this account, we already see there are 4 related contacts under this. Now, in this case, the moment I try to create 1 more new contact, basically the total count of the contacts would become 5, right? Which would not be permitted, and it should throw an error. So let's try creating another contact under this. So I will say, I'll just add another dummy contact here. Try to save this. Okay, now it throws an error. Cannot create more than 4 contacts under the same account. So this is the behavior that we are expecting. So we already have the trigger in place here. The next thing that we're going to do is we are basically going to understand how to write this trigger. So to write the trigger, all that you have to do is you just need to go to the developer console. In developer console, you will just go to file, new, click on Apex trigger, put the name of the trigger here, and whatever trigger name you want to give, and then select the S object. So we are going to write this trigger on contact. So we'll have to search for the contact object here. Yeah. So select your S object and then click on submit. All right. So we have got this trigger in place. We have got the trigger created. This is the name of the trigger, whatever you selected. This is the object on which you created the trigger, and this is basically the event when you want the trigger to get executed. In our case, in our scenario, we want this trigger to be executed every time a record is being inserted. So that's the reason why we have just selected before insert. Now let's get started with writing the trigger logic. So the first thing that we would do here is while writing the trigger logic, the first thing that we would do is we'll define a variable, and the name of the variable is account IDs. And this is simply a variable of type set of IDs. So trigger to your .new is basically a context variable which contains all the records which are getting inserted or updated in the system. So we are going to run a loop through this, and if new contact dot account ID is not equals null, we will add that to this account IDs. That's what we're going to do. Account IDs dot add the ID, the account ID of that particular contact. So this loop will ensure that for all the contacts which are getting inserted, the accounts for all those contacts are getting added to this variable account IDs. We will now need to check the number of existing contacts because that's what we would need. We will have to see what is the existing count of the contacts under each account, and then we will have to execute our logic. So we define a method for that. So it's going to be a private static method which would return an integer. And what would it return? Return the select count from contact where account ID in account ID. So this is basically going to return the count of contacts. So before I can start, executing my trigger code, iterating through the actual trigger.new, all the contact records, what we're going to do, we are also going to create a map here. What is this map going to be? This map is basically a map of ID and account. And what this map is going to do, this map is basically going to help us avoid running the query again and again. So we will have this map, and I'm going to have one query here written. So basically what will happen, it would create a map of all the contact IDs against the accounts from the account IDs that we have here. Now, as a result of this, you're not going to, go and execute. So, we have executed this query once and that's it, right? After this, we put the query inside the loop, then there are chances that you're going to, hit the governor limit. And to avoid that, we use this kind of a structure. This is very important. And I usually see a lot of new developers making that mistake. Okay. So instead of writing this query inside the loop, you should always, use a map. Now let's get started into the trigger logic. Trigger.new, as I said earlier, is the context variable which will have all the contacts which are getting inserted. Yeah. Okay. Now, inside this, I say account, parent account. So parent account is a variable of the account which is associated to this particular contact, the new contact. Okay, and that's what I have defined here. Now, if parent account is not equals to null and the parent account dot contact size, the existing contacts size, the count of the contacts, existing contacts, plus the count existing contact of this. So this parent account dot contact size. So basically what we're going to, we are trying to check here is if the existing contacts under that account plus the one that is being inserted as part of this particular DML, if the total of that is exceeding 4, then there should be an error. So the existing contacts we can get from here, the parent account dot contacts dot size. Yeah, this will basically give us the number of existing contacts which are already existing. And to get a count of the contacts which are getting inserted for this account through this trigger, I'm going to call this method that we defined here earlier. This is the method that we defined. So this method is what we're going to call here. So now the sum of these two, if that exceeds 4, then it should basically throw an error. So this is a simple syntax of throwing an error. So I say new contact dot add error. Cannot create more than 4 contacts under the same account. So that's the code, right? So that's the entire code that we have here. Now, all that we're going to do is, so that's the code. You can just, save your code here. And before all that you have to do is you just have to ensure that you have the trigger activated before you can see this trigger in action. In developer console, you will just go to file, new, click on Apex trigger, put the name of the trigger here and whatever trigger name you want to give, and then select the S object. So we are going to write this trigger on contact. So we'll have to, search for the contact object here. Yeah. So select your S object and then click on submit.